What's happening, everybody? Thanks for joining us. I will stop reading that episode of Fat Nug Snap magazine and welcome you and you at home to another episode of Cannabis Legalization News, the number one source for cannabis news and policy on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. My name is Tom Howard. You can find me over at cannabisindustrylawyer.com or here on Sundays. We have a new episode that'll be posted Wednesday, and that one's going to be like, what's the most lucrative license for 2025? This week, we had some presidential pardons and also commutation news out of the Biden administration, the biggest one that's ever happened, not necessarily for weed. We hope more of those are coming. And let's get into our trending stories of the week. I'm going to bring in our co-host, and we're going to discuss the news that was cannabis legalization for the past week.
What up? What up?
What up? What up?
Happy Sunday. Nothing like hanging out for 300 of our favorite people.
Oh, 300 at least of our favorite people. And shout out to my glasses that fell.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
But I only need them for very far away seeing. Shout out to CLN, Rob at CLN.
Yes.
CLTV, Cannabis Lifestyle TV. His MJ Biz video with Miggy and I dropped. That was pretty neat that we got to see him. And the other guys, we'll be following up with them and trying to bring them deep dives. I have a deep dive that we are going to do that we shot at MJ Biz. That one will be ready. I had some editing issues and I had a busy week last week. I had to get a pleading on file because I've been sued.
Again. You are a lawyer.
Well, yeah, but usually when you're a lawyer, you sue for other people. They don't sue you for doing your job. But for me, there are people who weaponize the legal system and they abuse it and they use it for extortion. They exist.
Well, that's kind of like just what cannabis industry is, right? We're no longer in the handshake deals. This is like legislative, and again, it's kind of like why we're here. We've been doing this, talking about this law for how many years now, and we got the
remember when like we were younger and we thought it would be legalized in like 5 minutes.
Remember when Schumer said the caca bill was going to pass?
Oh my God!
We're like those rich white guys. They said what?
Remember when they thought that if you called it THCA flower, that it would just be legal forever? Yeah, that's hilarious. That's what it is. It's all in branding. It has nothing to do with the secret ingredient being crime. Yeah. Speaking of the secret ingredient being crime, Joe Biden announced clemency for 1,500 Americans. And I am in Illinois, and so I wanted to single Rita Crundwell. She scammed Dixon, Illinois, where my grandmother's from, and I believe buried as well, out of $54 million because she liked horses, and she served part of a 20-year prison sentence. And that one was hilarious that she had been she got clemency for that. And then there was Michael Conahan, a former Pennsylvania judge who played a central role in the Cash for Kids scandal, taking kickbacks to sentence juveniles to private detention centers, causing immense harm to families, but remuneration to him. And of course, Hunter Biden, but that was previous. And then there was the Native American activist convicted in 1977 for killing 2 FBI agents. That's Leonard Peltier. Yes, Leonard Peltier. And Tamika Andrews. Well, I'm sure a lot of them were good. And I just wanted to find the most egregious. The Last Prisoner Project did put out a press release as well, saying I think it was like 4 or 5 of the people they have been working with. So there's only like 4 or 5 marijuana pardons out of that. And hopefully more of these marijuana pardons are coming. They could do hundreds. Or I'm not sure exactly how many are out there, but they could do them.
This is the yearly or every 4-year reminder for me that the pardons, the whole thing is just bullshit, right? Like it would be nice if there was like a plan of like, yes, we want to help people who truly been punished. Like Leonard Peltier, I think honestly got a raw deal. Like there's another one, Mumaya Mujal. Again, the fact that there was law enforcement involved in the killing. And minorities has never been. There's a history there, right? So but same like you, where every year you're like a little kid when the president comes out with the pardons, you want to see the list. And there was an article that came out here, 37 Iowans among Biden's drug sentencing commutations, and I think like 75% it's meth, right? Like this is not the cannabis reform. This is not true. Just like that lady you pointed out who robbed kids and swindled old people. Like, you know, what is that? What does this shit really mean? It just means that you got your name in front of like the paper desk person.
Well, there are some nonviolent drug offenders like John Knock, conspiracy to distribute marijuana in the 1990s and sentenced to 2 life terms plus 20 years under the mandatory minimums. Nice. So commuted after decades in prison, but thank goodness John Knock is out. And then there was also that's a cocaine one, Alfonso Lopez, former U.S. Army, and he was convicted for participating in conspiracy to distribute cocaine while struggling with PTSD after serving in the military, and he's been pardoned. And then there was Corbin Cooper, sentenced to life without parole for marijuana-related offenses for 3 strikes and you're out policies. So good on that one. And so there are some of the marijuana, either clemencies or pardons that were given out by Joe Biden. He's giving out pardons, so commit a crime now and write him a letter.
And I believe Cooper is actually still in jail right now, so this is like a really good, like, yes, a pardon's helping somebody. You know, going through the list here, one of the people, the 39 Iowans I was telling you about, who 70% is meth, Rory Meeks, the Marion Rodeo Clown, was sentenced to 2013 to 20 years in prison for manufacturing marijuana. Apparently, he had a grow in his backyard. So, like, there are some. That's why I wanted to title it, you know, Biden pardoned some cannabis offenses. Like, this is not a Band-Aid yet. We're still not there. There's still people locked up. I think total list is 1,500 people just for cannabis that Prison for Pod and Freedom Grow have. So lots to do.
Well, they'll update it, and it might be like 1,490 now or something like that. But you know, let's keep pushing. And then Trump sent a lot out as well, and said that let's get some more before Biden leaves here in another month and a week, and then after Trump leaves, maybe in 4 years, he hopefully will pardon the rest of them. But do you think that Trump is going to continue to legalize? Because like, he didn't support the hemp thing in Florida. He supported legalizing it in Florida. He says medical's great, you know, and so we'll see what he actually does.
You know, they're all self-serving administrations, unlike, you know, our neighbor to the north.
Oh, yes. Now we're going to talk about the children. Miggy, why don't you lead us off to the Canadian?
Yeah. Coming from a marijuana moment, Canada's marijuana legalization law effectively shifts people away from illicit market while youth use remains steady. So, in other words, kids are going to be kids, and grown-ups go to the store. They don't want to grow it and manufacture their own. None of you are out there hunting cows and making your own burgers. Like, that's the whole legalization. There's not going to be.
Wait a minute. Who hunts a cow? Seriously, I'm going to go out cow hunting. Nobody hunts cows. They're all herded or ranched. You know, they're farmed.
You know what I mean? But the fact is, legalization. Canada is a prime example. Like, granted, I don't know anything about their cannabis scene, their quality of their flower or anything. But I do know people aren't getting arrested for just having a part of this market.
You know who would? We need to call. We need to get Pigeons 420 on the show. I'll text.
Yeah, totally.
And so let's get Pigeons 420 on the show and talk about Canada. We'll do an international deep dive, at least for Canada.
Well, again, there's this big culture industry shift, right? Like where culture was anybody who just consumed, and sometimes you're the guy who buys lots of pounds to share with the little guys, right? Whereas industry, we were witnessing like business deals at MJ Biz, so that, you know, there's a difference of culture, I think, overall. I really don't know what the present like future culture of cannabis in America looks like. Whereas Canada being now uniform, you know, that's where the culture they're going to develop, don't you think? Like,
I think we're going to see like we're going to develop rules of the game through the medical rubric that we have. The UN has been asking or starting to have some movement for maybe getting rid of the single convention from 1961 and maybe changing, because like they pretty much, and this is a Harvard verb, engrafted marijuana onto the back of heroin and treated them the same under this international treaty from the early 1960s from the UN. So if they would yank out, I mean, like, you're not supposed to treat marijuana like heroin. You're not. But, you are supposed to make sure that the marijuana is safe and not semi-synthetic. It's like, you're not going to try to legalize opioids or opium and then say, but oxycodone. The hemp industry just like boggles my mind. And so what we may see is rules about how medical cannabis or cannabis for human consumptions, because like that's the other thing about the hemp industry. It's only the agricultural commodity. It's rope, not dope.
Yeah.
If it was dope, the FDA would have made rules, and they didn't make any rules. And people are like, well, that's the FDA's fault. And the FDA says, we don't have the authority to do so. And then Chevron has been overturned. So they really don't have the authority to do so. But whatever. And so I think hopefully with Trump, we see rules, which again, like expecting rules from Trump.
Well,
yeah.
If we make it to the end, I have a surprise thing about the FDA rules that I kind of like came across and want to bring up to you. But we really do need to encourage rescheduling, because I mean, to solidify this plant as medicine is like deschedule. I fucking get it. We all get it. We all want fucking just to go buy seeds at wherever and at your local Albertsons or wherever you shop, right? Wherever you buy tomato seeds, you want to be able to buy weed seeds. But
when you say it's medicine,
yeah,
it's medicine.
Well, what do you mean?
I mean, like when you say something's medicine, it's medicine. I mean, when you say something's an herbal supplement, it's vitamin C or something, you're not making any claims. You're not making any preconditions or nothing like that. But when you talk about it for its medicinal purposes, even like when it's hemp, like with the CBD back in the day, 5 years ago when it was passed, they were still making these wellness and health claims. And so now you're taking it out of it being an agricultural commodity and you're making it a food and or a drug. So the regulations that we have, and this is before Doge and Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy just take a machete to all the federal regulations, which is one of the reasons why I'm like, okay, how is Donald Trump going to bring rules to the cannabis industry and make all this make sense when it says that he hates rules? But he also says that medical's great. And so if medical's great, give us the rule book for medical,
But we still need that be set in stone so the next thing can happen, right? I mean, the one thing that always loses in every state, you can look at every freaking state, medical loses because, here in Washington being the first, they really did undercut the medical program. I don't know, Illinois.
We tried to empower it.
Yeah.
And Missouri's done a great job as well. But it's 20 past the hour, which means that we are going to be taking a quick musical interlude brought to you by Collateral Base, making MSO's MSO here. Collateral Base. That was a secret. That was our pivot that we did. MSOs only.
Yeah,
but no, people hate it. They think that you're a corporatist and like a monopolist and an elitist and all this other things. And I'm like, just because I'm good doesn't mean that I believe in that stuff. They're like, well, shouldn't a guy have the ability to get in the cannabis game? I'm like, so you want to sell drugs for a living? Yeah, you can do that and go to pharmacy school. And they're like, I don't want to go to pharmacy school and get a license.
I think, and again, any of this, right? Like ideally, like New Jersey Weed Man, like I always use that reference as far as somebody who took a couple seeds.
But he was a drug dealer. He was
Well,
an
that's the thing, though.
illicit drug dealer. Yeah.
But there's a bandwidth that you can only put out so much, right? Like when I used to sell weed, it was always enough to pay rent. I never had I was never pushing pounds, right? Because that's real money. That's the money to buy the boats and the hose and the
Not
shit that
send
you
you
want.
away for that's like the first million you make, you just give 100,000 to a lawyer and you go, I might
Yeah,
call you someday and have a problem.
right. But like
Yep.
in any other regulated business that we have in America, you don't wake up and go, you know what, I want to sell beer one day.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. There are hundreds, but it's not a cheap thing to do. Like
No.
I can go interview all the local breweries and talk about it, and I'll tell you that it is not cheap. But I will also tell you that you will be able to get a business loan to do so, maybe even from the SBA. And we can't do that, Miggy. We can't get a business loan from the SBA. The few cannabis friendly banks that you'll be able to find may value the cash flow that the marijuana business will make at zero and look only to the guarantors to see how to get this loan repaid. And so this is why I am announcing I becoming the bestest estate planning lawyer, some type of like law completely removed from the cannabis industry. So I can say this cash flow has nothing to do with cannabis.
Well, look. I mean, like the whole point of like working is to like have a nice home and not worry about shit, right? Like this is the American dream, living wage, all these other words that you just want to do something so you can have your safe space and that's what every other industry has, right? But when you're getting to cannabis, you got to do this like shuffle game with the money. You got to do a raising, not banks. Like I would love to go to a bank and have a fair opportunity for like, hey, here's my horrible credit. What can I do to work around with this? Because like you said,
remember, your credit has gotten better. And
actually,
it's not only that
700.
there you go. And that's fine. You'll get it up to 850. I mean, I'll keep telling you what to do. And if you really want to get great credit, and you really want to make money in America, you're supposed to own the business, not just work for it.
Yeah.
But 85% of people just work for the business, and that's okay.
Exactly.
Because like owning the business means like all the risk, because everybody else is an employee and they are owed their wages.
Yeah.
By law, motherfucker. And
well,
so
that's
you
the
have
thing.
to pay them. Yeah, that's when you're an employee, you are owed those wages. And so you get paid as an employee, but you tend to not build real wealth. You might be able to have a defined pension as you become old, but that is extremely limiting. And you have to pick a particular industry that will provide that. Most like ours, if we're very lucky, and I hope that we are, our benefit system will allow for participation in the C corporation, but then also just in the general, your 401k. And so that's being set up for the company. But meanwhile, everybody wants to sell hemp at every street corner and say they're a small business, when that really jeopardizes the industry that was created to be highly regulated and safe and medicine. And so like we are not yet a hybrid dispensary like it is in Missouri, which would be in compliance with the federal law under Schedule 3. And so that kind of compliance you might see coming back. And so you said like medical got people just off of it in Washington state, and like medical died after it was adult use and it just went adult use only. Now, if the federal law makes it medical, you have these incentives to structure yourselves so that you are in compliance with the federal law, which will be the first time ever we have compliance with the federal law for weed, not hemp. They are not in compliance because there ain't no rules, which is
that's not.
Yeah,
federally, this is why I just say we need to champion the rescheduling but again, this is like big industry people, right? Like when Washington State legalized it, I did try to get part of the licensing game, but because I saw like you rule number one, don't fucking bite off more than you can chew, right? Like there's only so much like first off, it's a cannabis license, so how do I sell that to a bank of like, here's my business plan, oh wait, it's federally legal, but your state's gonna be the first one to do it. So it's been 12 years, right? Now we have all these other investors and all these other cash flows coming in for this type of business, but we're not trying to be an allegory. We're not trying to be MedMen. We're trying to be just a simple beginning cornerstone.
The name of the holding company is actually Airty, which makes no sense. And like, I'm not going to explain now.
But
I will explain that later.
These are things though that as a small grower, as a dude, is be like, hey, I just want to sell weed to the homies or whatever. This is shit you don't think about when it comes to bigger business stuff, right? Because
yeah, but then it's not medical. Like you're not being a pharmacist. And so like you got to be a pharmacist. It is because like all of the people, they always say it's about how medicinal it is. Tommy Chong will say all use is medicinal use.
Mm-hmm.
And so if all use is medicinal use, don't you want safe, pure medicine?
Right,
like
right.
talking to safe pure medicine, that gets back into Think of the Children ×2 out of Illinois on Friday. And so this came out of Illinois on Friday. JB Pritzker had a press conference, a presser, as some people call it for some reason. And so a presser is a press conference. I've learned this. Right. So he had a presser and he talked about the intoxicating hemp industries that are marketing to children and expressed his support for HB 4293, which will regulate the hemp industry in Illinois that gets you high, like the cannabis industry in Illinois that gets you high, so that it is safe, so that it doesn't appeal to children, so that there's not all these problems. The hemp industry, when we reached for comment, was said to say, like, this will put us out of business. This isn't, and then every virtue involves. And then they said, well, what about HB? And then they cited theirs. I think it's 5093. That just essentially says that they tried to fix the FDA's problem, because everything that you buy federally that's hemp, unless you smoke it, is a misbranded drug or an adulterated food. Yeah. It's illegal under federal law.
Right.
Lawyers are just like, it's some of them, they find it impossible to understand this. Lawyers, like, the point of having a lawyer, and so like I was making that down.
Your mic was coming in and out. Right now, I think this is funny to hear, like you were saying, the hemp people, not only in Illinois but in Florida as well, right? Like they recently had their own little battle, but the
battle's not over.
Yeah, but the ones in Florida were like something about trying to say like, oh, you're trying to oh no, it was Illinois. They're the ones that were saying that the Illinois is doing like reinventing the drug war, right? It's all about rebranding some shit, putting a twist on things. But in actuality, the consumer's losing in all of this bullshit legislation, right? Where there should be real, like, if you're going to call it cannabis, you can call it weed. There's a way to do things. There's a way for the consumer to have proper information, transparency for the product. You don't have that right now with hemp. You don't have transparency.
Right. And so don't say it's medicine and have no regulation.
Yeah.
Don't say it's medicine and have no regulation. And then don't make it a drug and have no regulation. So that the point, it's that they always do this in every one of these press conferences in every state that tries to restrict the intoxicating hemp. They show the copycat product that looks like candy or something that appeals to children, and then the regular product. And so, like, we can't stock stuff that appeals to children. You'd have to make it look not fun.
Well, I got Penny Hart saying that the consumer's winning with hemp, but here's the thing, though. It's still,
you're not. The patients. It's medicine. It's not a recreational product.
Look, I'm sure there's good products out there, right? I'm sure. Like I met I wanted to contact him, have him on the show, a hemp farmer in California who has, I think he said 140 acres. So look, I have no problem. I want to promote an American farmer, an American grower that has a huge fucking farm and smoke his call it hemp at the point when he makes his fucking samples, right? Because it's on you to do the workaround. It's on you to defend yourself and a court of law. I'll just be like, hey, this guy has good weed, but it's still going to be under the hemp guys. But the thing is, like, the consumer is losing because you don't have any rights. You're going to test hot. You can be Mr. Truck Driver, school teacher.
You're going to test hot, or like you're going to buy something you don't know what's in it.
Yeah, another part of the equation with the FDA thing that we covered last week, right? They talked about the extra chemicals that are involved after.
Oh, that was the end of the press release as well, because it's not just JB. He also had some scientists there. That's Marina Ramandar, the medical doctor and director of substance use and prevention programs at Lurie Children's Hospital. Harmful chemicals are used to synthesize these products, and much of that remains unknown regarding the impacts of these products. But we do know that youths are being exposed and reporting negative effects in our clinics and in the emergency department. That's Dr. Maria Ramandar.
And again, sourcing product, you don't know we buy things at the store and trust that the chain of command that happened to get there, the supply chain was all legit, but for the most part, people don't care about you. I mean, this law proves it, right? Every time they do these pardons, there's no sweeping like we're gonna fucking make things right for the American people fundamentally.
Steal $54 million, do a couple of years in prison, get a pardon. Welcome to America.
It's insane. So like that's the thing, right? With this with rules, the rules are going to be for you to protect you. It's for your knowledge, and you're more fuzzy inside.
Yeah. Cole has got regulation is hard, and so yeah. Keep pushing.
Yeah. No, and by all means, that's the thing, right? Who's putting these guys in check? Here in Washington State, we're still going through it, and the people who are involved, and I think anybody can attest to this. Activists are either really, really intelligent people or cuckoo for bananas. The middle ground's really, really hard on this one.
They're never pragmatists. They're never pragmatic.
That's the word.
They are passionate. They're romantic. They see things in binary ways. They are this or that, but they are not pragmatic. And very often, business is not their strong suit because it's about the principle of the thing instead of like, look, we got to get this shipped, and then after that, we're going to have to pay all these bills. Like, do you understand that we're here to make money? No, we're here to do the right thing. Oh my God, fire this guy.
Seriously.
Okay, yeah.
But with legalization, and again, I never, was it?
The worst, according to who's going to win tomorrow, Vikings or Bears, the state with the worst social equity policy is going to win tomorrow.
Oh, fuck. There we go. Yep. We got that coming up.
Oh, no. That was messed up. You got the email saying like, hey, you're in, but now you're into the next one. No, put on Miggy. Miggy's the applicant.
Yeah.
Miggy has got a company that's going in Minnesota. Yeah.
Well, our next story is in Minnesota, the recent recall, or they stopped the goddamn equity process, right? I had a chance. Minnesota Office of Cannabis Management announces next steps for cannabis licensing process, which is we stopped the social equity lottery, which I got the letter for 2 days before it was supposed to happen, which I got.
Right.
I've never been through so many emotional ups and downs for a business type thing, dude.
Yep.
And
you please can they please just do their jobs? No, they can't. Kentucky runs its state way better than Minnesota, at least when it comes to cannabis licensing. And so like regulated products, you can run your state. Like Missouri currently is the king of the Midwest. I think like Illinois could do a little bit better. Illinois is understaffed. And so Illinois needs to have a better regulatory authority. That's something I would support in the future, amending our laws so that we have a centralized regulator. But it's pretty interesting.
The solution to their answer, because the next story we're going to talk about is about the fraud that they suspect.
Probable. It could. Yeah, well, let's get into that one because this could also just be, a potential malpractice claim for all we know.
Oh. So coming from here from Fox 9, potential fraud, 240 cannabis license applicants, one connection, right? So this is why the social equity drama stopped, is because of this shit. And their answer to make it fair, oh, we're just going to do it open in February, and then you're potentially still in the equity round if you want to be part
That's
of
what
that.
Delaware did. That's what Delaware did. Delaware coming this week again. We got some dispensary clients that are hopefully going to be lucky. And I hope I'm lucky in Kentucky tomorrow. 2%. It's a chance, but we'll see. And then it's still lottery week, for for limited licenses in Delaware and Kentucky, but not Minnesota because they did it wrong.
Well, and again, this one person, this bad actor, did it wrong, right? Like,
well, you're judging him. He has first. You have to.
Well,
You have to.
if found guilty, right? If the allegations,
what's he guilty of? Like, that's the thing. And who's in charge of the prosecution?
Well, obviously the prosecution is stopping the goddamn lottery. I mean, like, you done, ruined it for the rest of us kids, right? Like, that's we're looking at you, whoever.
Ruin it for the 1/3 of the applicants who got in.
Yeah, this is the new hustle, kids. This is the chance to, like, each state's different, right? Each state has different requirements and potential. Most of them are really, really high, which sucks. But
look, become a pharmacist. Become a lawyer. Like, can you imagine if, like, look, you need a lawyer and a pharmacist. Those are the requirements. Very often they are the requirements, especially for medical weed. And so, like, that's if you're going to treat this plant like a drug, you're ready to have it be treated like a drug.
And I get that's a fear for a lot of activists, right? Like, once rescheduling happens, it puts it under this blanket with the pharmaceutical type shit, right? But I think we need these steps.
Drugs. Alcohol's a drug. Tobacco's a drug. And so there's going to be heavy regulation, hopefully at the federal level, that sets the rules. One of the reasons why I think we're going to win on real natural marijuana legalization, but it may take 10 years, is because we can't tax the drug, the pharmaceutical drugs. You just gouge. And if you've been to a dispensary, you might have seen some gouging. But where's the tax? And so you drop it from the schedules and then you tax it like liquor, where the heaviest taxed liquor is like whiskeys, like your distilled spirits, because you're taxed on like a proof gallon. And so there's this concept of a tax, and then there's these rules if you want to follow and be in this industry. But we don't have those rules, and I think they're going to, like, write them first through a medical lens under Schedule 3. And then they're going to be pissed that they don't get the IRC 280E tax dollars anymore. And they're going to be like, we need these taxes. And you can't have the taxes unless it's descheduled and not a controlled substance.
I understand that part, but I think I think we miss a lot of the question of, like, what is a drug, right? Like it's the flower. This is a beautiful little female plant.
It's like tobacco. And so it's like tobacco. Like, tobacco is a plant, and you smoke it and it keeps you coming back, and it does things to you because, like, you're smoking the nicotine. So, like, you are smoking the plant for the THC. You are smoking the cannabinoid, and you want to get that.
My coffee's a drug. I'm just saying that's a plant. We should probably, like, look at what we're talking about.
Right, but let's play some Name That strain. But coffee and tobacco, they don't get you as high as weed does.
I would suck a dick for coffee. I'm just saying.
Me too. Walking back my last contact. That's
dude, I'm telling you.
I will just go to the next coffee shop. I don't need to suck dick for coffee.
Yeah, on a quarter hustler.
Nah, not doing that.
Hey, baby, you want some of this?
No, thank you.
This is a fun name, though.
Got the student loan debt to pay.
Pretty little frosty as hell.
Yep.
It's formerly known as, I don't even want to say that. It's a sativa dominant cross of Princess Leia and Dagwood. There we go.
Princess Leia and Dagwood. Huh. I don't have it on the show notes. I just have the link to the thing. I don't have, like, the all right, Will is pointing at me, and so my mic is fucking up.
That was earlier. You sound good to me now. So this bright green sticky buds has an aroma of sweet citrus, spicy pepper, and earthy musk. Great for daytime relief, since it relieves anxiety and stress.
This reminds me, to a certain extent, of the strain of the year for 2024. It's not the strain of the year for 2024, but the strain of the year for 2024 is a story of rebranding. And so we'll have to do that as a name that strain in the future, because it was a strain from
Oh,
like 5 years
shit.
ago.
We got a close one. Victoria's
Got a
close.
close one?
Oh
All
yeah.
right. Do we got its parents? Did you give the parents? Yeah, Princess Leia and
Yeah.
Dagwood. Okay, Princess Leia and Dagwood had this kid.
Hey, here we go, Chris. Good job. Nailed it.
Nailed it. Synonyms. All right.
Yums. Cinnamon Wars. That's dope.
Cinnamon Wars. Yeah.
Comments.
Well,
okay.
that's you call something one thing, and the sales are this. Call it something else, and the sales are that, or lower. Like,
Why?
Would you like a bullshit sandwich? No, I would not like a bullshit sandwich. Well, we're gonna work on the name then.
But that's the thing. Why would you like not say like a nice candy, right? You wouldn't call that bullshit sandwich. But like a strain flower, you would call it like Dookie Breath, and you'd be like, I'll smoke the shit out of Dookie Breath all day, but I wouldn't like eat a Dookie Breath sandwich.
Well, that is like, all right, well, if you're tuning in, you're probably already a subscriber because you've made it to minute 36, and we support you and your lifestyle. But the strain of the year was actually Super Boof, which is a hilarious name. And it was not what it was originally called, like in 2019. It was something berry, maybe like Blockberry or something. I would have to go Google Super Boof and read its story. That is the ability to move sales and revenue. And this happens in every business. And it happens in businesses from like how you phrase your contracts to how you name your product offerings. And we've changed the way that we do our contracts in the past, 12-ish months. And it's like, if we do it like this, and then it's just, it's business practices for revenue generation. That's kind of.
Are you telling me Mike Tyson doesn't personally grow his own weed? Or
I'm telling you, Mike Tyson is a business.
What kind of craziness are you referring to about business? No, and that's the unfortunate thing about like what is the cannabis industry is the lack of that's what takes away from the culture, right? Now we identify brands, cookies, right? They've been killing it. I can't think of many other ones that are so interstate, even national. Can you?
No. After that, like they've not even hemp brands, and so we don't really have large brands. We assume that we will. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean like, Schedule 3 also may curtail interstate commerce, which allows for states to have brands. And so there could be hundreds of brands of producers in your state. Eventually, through consolidation and M&A and interstate commerce, then you might only have, like we have in beer, 3 breweries that make like 80% of the beer. The longer that we keep it in these types of regulatory regimes that are controlled at the state level and medical, it will reduce it from becoming, there will be the Diet Coke weed.
Yeah. No,
going to be like 80%.
I honestly think legalization is at its best because it's such individual per state, right? When it comes to the state grows. Because, if I want to go to Idaho, wherever, Ohio, and go to a rec store, that weed in that store is going to be locally grown, by local people. Because when we do get to that Diet Coke weed, somebody in Kentucky is going to grow fucking farm and then ship it out everywhere else. It's not going to stay in Kentucky, and that's kind of how business is, right? Like, you're good at one thing, and
let's move on to our next little story that we have. Is there we go. Liquor stores. And so if you happen into your local liquor store, how much of that liquor is local? It's probably not that much, especially 100%. If you're in Iowa. Sorry, Iowa. But hey, you also have the highest cancer rates. Great work. But and no legal. Well, there's some legal weed there actually. But they say that infused is the new choice. And you're seeing these types of regulations infiltrate in various places where they put in age gating at so they're selling these CBD products, or they aren't CBD, they're THC products at liquor stores. So there's age gating, and then there's certain compliance they have to follow for the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act but no federal, and it's still an adulterated food or drug or misbranded drug under federal law because there's no regulations. So are these cannabis beverages going to be the thing that finally kicks the doors down and regulates cannabis as a food or drug? Or will it be Schedule 3?
That safeguarding you're talking about, the 21 and over barrier, which is not set in stone, right? This is self-regulation. This is trying to maintain a market. I got this article from beveragedynamics.com, right? And it just blows my mind that there's a whole website, there's a whole magazine devoted to just like drinks, like a whole industry of articles and following the markets. And I guess it's kind of the same with cannabis, right? We're looking at the law and policy and even the business side of things, especially now that we're part of it, or kind of been part of it. Still haven't got that brick and mortar, but when we do, but yeah, I think that, the CBDs have been this is all about wellness and options and choices, and so it is the way. Something that liquor stores have feared, that the legalization of marijuana will take over. And
they got age gating though. It's regulated. Like this isn't liquor. This is regulated. This is just bubbly water, and you have to comply with the food, drug, and cosmetic tax. Yeah. And then this isn't adulterated, and it's not a misbranded drug, because this is just water that'll get me, refreshed, and it's got bubbles in it. And then it also has all the labels for the FDCA compliance. Cheech and Chong's the beverage does a very good job of that compliance as well. Well, like, how do you comply with something where there ain't none? There ain't no regulations. But then the FDA says, don't do it. And they do it.
And again, I don't try and throw shade or about business. I always just question sourcing, right? Like, there's too much room right now for that China hemp. And then nothing against China, except for now they have your nudes because they've hacked the SMS system. So,
well, what if we didn't call it China hemp? We just called it like criminal hemp, like that dirty hemp, because there's dirty hemp out there, or it's over the line hemp, or it was, how regulations you shouldn't have, so you can have the largest profit possible. And so you cut corners and you do things on the cheap and you sell it anyway.
Yeah.
That is what we're trying to avoid.
Exactly.
For drugs. It's like, do you want that? Do you want that? It's like you're taking that product for a particular use. So don't you want it to be safe, effective, and what it said?
And again, what is drugs? I got a gallon of drugs right here.
There are rules that thing has to follow, and that you're right. That's granddaddy's old cough syrup right there.
But what is drugs?
Original cough syrup. Yeah, but there's regulation in that. There's taxation in that. There's like, here's what this is. Here's how you do it.
But that's why
that for weed.
Yeah, exactly. And it's important for it to be scheduled. But I think also to the point of buying seeds, right? Because that's what we consider hemp now, right? Like the hemp is always going to be the seed, and then once it's grown, right? The real structure of the law should be post-regulation, or the intent of your grow. How many people are out there trying to grow for t-shirts or no, they're trying to get that sweet CBD money, or that sweet turn it to a vape and isolate. And again, that's not even, that process is not regulated, right? In every state that has a legal cannabis market, I hope, now I don't know, because in Washington State we only now have 3 fucking labs that are fucking testing products.
Back when we were doing mortgage securities, we only had 2 bond ratings associations. There was Moody's and S&P. Wow. And they'd say that this is AAA rated, amazing bond stuff. What do you mean this mortgage foreclosure crisis happened? 2008. But we have some international news. Italy got something out of Italy. The Italian hemp supply chain faces significant challenges due to lack of regulation. So there's no standardized certifications for Italy's hemp industry,
Yeah.
And then now hang on, I'm reading this from the Lampoon magazine. Are we sure that this is an actual
No, I
article, or is this a
Lampoon
joke
actually
article?
no, they're actually so Lampoon actually has like real like informative articles, right? Because they're talking about hemp certification, certified seeds, and this is the reason why I put this in our to do watch list and talk about is because internationally we need to look and see how these people are doing it, because that's where other people are going to structure their markets and business. So if you're in the business now, you should probably look towards Italy or even Canada on your next pivoting. I'm telling you, as soon as rescheduling happens, the real regulation in the United States is going to hurt a lot of people, but only because they're doing shitty business practices already, right? Like if they're getting that China, South African hemp and putting in their distillate without any checks and balances, or even like creating that isolate and not even doing it in a safe way, because this is a human consumable item, we're in trouble. There's the markets need to happen. Rescheduling happens when it happens.
Well, it's interesting. This thing, it is an actual Lampoon magazine.
Yeah.
I mean, we could put it up. It seems halfway reputable, and then also halfway not.
It's Harvard.
Anyway, Harvard. The Harvard Lampoon is doing actual National Lampoons is doing legitimate
stories,
articles now.
Yeah,
I don't believe it.
But I think this is something we need to look at. It's all they're cracking down in Europe about their hemp industry, and now what their legalization looks like, it's going to happen too. But because Germany still, they reset theirs, right? It's the whole Euro. Again, I don't care about much past Tacoma.
I'm just saying. What is Tacoma, by the way? It's now.
It's like having
settle it back for me, Maggie. Tacoma. That's a Toyota truck, right?
Oh yeah, that too. But it's actually a nice place, dude. They got a nice 1800s type vibe. Some of the buildings and stuff.
What do you mean by 1800 vibe?
Like this, still the construction. I dig architecture, like the old city still part of the new city. And
how far away is that from Seattle, by the way? Next time I'm in at SeaTac, which it's been 3 years now. I got to get back to Seattle.
Yeah, it's a quick drive. It's half hour. I mean, if there's no people in the world, but if there's people in the world, then it takes you an hour and a half.
Okay.
But like big city problems in small areas, it's fun. But speaking of like neighbor issues, thousands of Kansans are buying medical marijuana in Missouri. Or in no shit news from NPR coming.
Yeah.
Because Kansas, they don't have medical. How many times have they squashed that coming through? Just
every single time. Cannabis has not had a medical cannabis program ever, but I bet we could find some hemp there that'll get you tore up. Not sure what's in it though. It's probably cannabinoids.
Do they even have
other cannabis
hemp farms there? Because a lot of states are doing hemp programs now. So
yeah, but they make it like not all the states, and so there's like some states that have adopted the USDA's rules. Those are the ones that typically are growing all of the THCA flower, and so you're looking at Colorado, Texas. No, I'm sorry, Florida and North Carolina. Evidently, it's where most of the THCA flower is coming out of, and also the hemp that's being grown. And there's a very, some people would say literal interpretation of how to do this to be in compliance with the law, so that THCA flower that's like 30% weed, well, 30% THC, would be labeled and trafficked as THCA hemp. Yeah.
Why do you think Kansas is so mad at weed? Why do you think Kansas?
Because they're Republican. Because they Baptists. Because of Baptists. I'm going to blame religion.
Oh, Jesus,
the children. Yeah.
I just seems to be ignorant now at this point of 2024. You're like, how do people not understand that this isn't your understanding of how people interface or consume this product, what it does to their life or what it does to society. You're in Kansas. How well are you doing? Like
It really
because
depends on what you do. You know,
you're making cash flows go away though, right? Like now Kansas itself is losing out on tax revenue here. Uh, both New York and who's the other one? Maine, I think it was. Because they're so small. No, Massachusetts. They're about to surpass billions for the year.
9 billion. It was that? Yeah, you had a Massachusetts story about 9 billion for its history. I think it's closing in on 9 billion in total in
Damn.
sales. That might have taken like 8 years.
Still, it's like not, like how much before they lost out on, like, and not just the revenue, but your culture, your people. What? Why
Right.
are you trying to fuck your people?
Well, and then they fuck them twice because then they say like, hey, let's split them into two factions. These people that have this license and these people that don't have any license.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah, seriously though. But
uh,
and then that's a semantical thing that we go through, like why rescheduling is so important. So though once the license happened federally, that's the kind of thing where there is a such thing as trickle down justice, not economics, but like if the rules are up here for this thing to exist, well then all the other organizations got to go, oh shit, like the insurance thing. That's the biggest thing about like testing hot for work, for employment. Your employer is going to fire you not because you're a shitty employer, but because a shitty employee, but because you're an insurance risk now, right? Like, I understand, like as an employee, most of the shit, like as a consumer, me and the homies be like, you get hurt, don't say nothing. That's it, because the P test is not, there goes my money, and that's kind of like I shouldn't have to suffer through pain for some dumb shit, and so those rights are still not there,
yeah.
so
Well,
rescheduling is so important, dude.
uh, recognizing it as being medicinal and not just some of like drug that's out there to be abused, I think is the most important aspect for 2025. Like everybody wants to talk about how they are normalizing the plant with hemp, and I just or certain aspects of adult use, and I don't necessarily see that as much as normalizing the plant for its medicinal use and not as its drug use or abuse. And so that's our last story, celebrity news. Elton John says that cannabis legalization in America and also in Canada is the greatest mistakes of all time. Can you believe that shit?
Sad face. I mean, like, I don't, man. I get you were a druggie. You blame the drug for your bad decisions, but like,
Oh, we have a quote.
um, yeah, like
Oh, yes, yes. The quote: I maintain that it's addictive. I'm not sure if that's how they pronounce it in Britain. It leads to other drugs, John said. And when you're stoned, and I've been stoned, you know, personal knowledge now, he's
right.
got capacity to testify. He then goes on to say, you don't think normally legalizing marijuana in America and Canada is one of the greatest mistakes of all time. And so there you go, legalizing and marijuana. So it's this medical cannabis plant, like, legalizing medical cannabis. Goal of mine, we're almost there. Schedule 3 is coming, we hope.
Well, he talked about Canada. We just talked about it earlier, where the studies, the actual numbers, right? Data is beautiful. Show that like the kids are still being kids. It's not increasing or getting less, and adults are just going to the store. Like
Yeah,
grown people are like, oh, you don't have like a gin. You're not like a hooch thing in your
right.
backyard, right? And I'm not trying to 1930s flapper secret knock on my door come in, but
But
like,
like, but seriously though, like, and medical, and so you go into the store, you have a high quality like source. Do you know how many pets and who knows what's in your basement grows, or
yeah.
your illicit weed or your hemp? Who knows what's in it? You
And,
don't.
and it,
There's no regulation for it, but there's regulation for the medical shit. And so if we had, here's how you make this plant medicine. That's the rule we need for Schedule 3. Here's the rules. Here's the industry. You can't tax it until you get us out of the schedules. And so pharma's not going to effing come in. This stuff has been off patent since 2021 for various purposes.
It just occurred to me that it just like, as we talk about how like the rules, right? People think the rules, and I think they think too hard as far as when it comes to pharmaceuticals, because it's an organic plant, that the rules really can just be about the labs themselves, right? Like the required testing for this organic material. What do you have to test for? How do you have to test for it, right? Because this will give you the consistency and the repeatability and the safety. One of the biggest, besides quality, safe access, I think is also like going to the store and safely knowing that you're going to not get robbed or whatever. I mean, they're still cash only, so that's the unfortunate. It still has that kind of magnet towards it, but for the most part, people aren't going in the shady parking lots and trying to get like a little dime bag for like a normal safe night of consumption, not doing heroin. One of I think like we talk about policy, the Safe Banking Act, right? This is something that could have happened, but Schumer's saying the Republicans are stopping it, right? This happened recently, like within the week. So how are we going to get to the point where like, people can operate?
When there's more Republicans, they're going to just Safe Bank. No, nothing has happened in Congress, and it's about to become more conservative.
Yeah.
Nothing has happened.
I don't see it getting better. And everybody, especially after we already experienced the 4 years of Trump's leadership already. Like, I don't see it. But you know what? I could be wrong. It could be like this guy, maybe like, I want to have a legacy or something, right? Because again, his pardons were no better than Biden's pardons that just happened. So like the fundamental justice for what is fair is always missing, because this whole thing's gamified, right?
Politics is gamified. As soon as there's a money that's moving, it's gamified, and they right. I mean, like America, the business of America is business. Like, I'm gonna fucking put that at the corporate headquarters. It's in a quote, and it's gonna say Joe America or something like that. I have no idea. But like, I will find out. Yeah.
But I think every layer of this legalization is some sort of gamified thing that people with the money who can play do. Like there was a time when there were 15 federal patients, right? And those
there's quite a few, wasn't it? Like, didn't they shut it down before AIDS broke, like in 91, 92. Yeah. And I thought it was more than 15. I'm not sure. It's like the IND, the Innovative Novel Drug Program, like where they could do research to see whether or not this drug, being like what Irv Rosenfeld would get shipped every month, a carton of joints. And then there were several others, but that they stopped it right as AIDS was coming up. And that's why you had Prop 215 in California.
Yeah. So like part of the gamification of like the system is also understanding it, right? Like you as a lawyer, like the reason why I've been doing this advocacy and trying to help people locked up for something that's ridiculous is like there's a way to like, some people have jailhouse lawyer their way out of fucking prison. And then once you finally have rules to be part of the game, there's so many ways to be a part of it. So one of the, like I talked about before, how we get funny emails sometimes. I got this email from the Federal Registry, right? So I saw this like Hemplex, and I went down this fucking rabbit hole, dude. So like you get this notice saying, hey, this company wants to submit this patent, or they're going for this release. And then I went down this PDF file, and it's talking about how this National Center for Natural Products and Research. Do you know who that is?
No.
That's that fucking farm in Mississippi. That's the college in Mississippi.
Oh, nice. The college in Mississippi that was like giving people weed for all those years.
They've been the sole player with this fucking license for cannabis marijuana research, like
for decades.
Yeah,
decades. Yeah.
That was a hot spicy thing I wanted to share with you guys. But like that the FDA type shit, they're dealing with that now.
We got to hit that. We got to hit that subscribe, because like you tune into us because of the deep culture, like where it's like, wait, and then this happened, and then that happened, and then this other thing happened. It's not just about changing the name of Blackberry to Superboof, but there are a lot of great channels about growing, and I hope that you
Yes.
subscribe to all of them on YouTube. And then if you have a favorite channel about growing, you leave it in the comments because we want to hear about it.
And again, we don't have a grow, but we're gonna have a store, and we're gonna build branding and
Yeah,
it's whatever.
we want, and that brings us to, like, in 2025, we can't sponsor your dispensary. We may be able to sponsor through product placement your products. And so, like, if you're a producer processor, I have a lot of space here. Your product could be there, and we can't tell people where to get it. We can just say this stuff's great, and then back to the news. That's, I think, the limit of YouTube's content policy. We will continue to work with YouTube to make sure that we are compliant with their content policies. By the way, I'm a lawyer. I do compliance professionally.
Also, Tom's an extra large. I'm an extra large. You know, we can wear.
I
shirts.
prefer to be a large. This is my dad bod. Like,
There you go.
This is the most dad bodded I've been, and I'm not thrilled about it, but doing what I can.
Friend, welcome to age.
Yeah. That's our show, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Cannabis Legalization News. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to broadcast next week. It's Christmas. People take time off.
Yeah.
And I am driving to Detroit to see the family.
Predictions for 2025 in case we'll talk live again.
Well, yeah, I think maybe take off next week. You know, we haven't had a week off in a bit.
Not unless like some shit happens.
Some shit happens. We're there for you guys. We're there for you. But doesn't it make sense that shit won't happen this next week? Because, like, we're getting to, and then Christmas is like in the middle of the week, so it's almost like they're trying to take the whole week off. We'll see.
I don't know anymore, man. I just like enjoy the day. Carpe diem. Fucking
Carpe diem.
Oh, but you know what though? I predict 2025. Look out for all the new Popeye brands of cannabis because public domain he becomes.
Popeye's good. Popeye's a good. I'm not sure if we're like Popeye's already a chicken. How did they do Popeye chicken with Popeye?
Oh,
was that ever a beef?
Spinach. It's gonna be all kinds of cannabis spinach. Fucking those little cans. I see the fucking marketing already. Like that's just whatever. Welcome to the industry.
That's right. Yeah. Cool. All right. Hey, and if you are a member, we put your name in the credits. We might have to update it soon, but if you are a member, you consider joining if you want your name in the credits to help bring cannabis legalization news to the people every week, as it is the #1 cannabis news and policy station on YouTube.
Hell yeah. Thanks for joining.